I'm Francesca Maxime.
And I'm Matt McClure. And this is Currents.
Logging on to a more spiritual life.
It's another medium to spread the gospel on the internet, video. It's a great way to get the message out and across.
Spreading a message, 140 characters or less.
People can share so quickly now using these tools.
And evangelization, jumping in with both feet.
We have to do stuff using media, we have to do stuff doing retreats.
Good evening, everyone. Well, technology is taking over. There's no doubt about that. Everybody's logging onto Facebook and constantly checking their Blackberries, Twittering, all this kind of stuff. We here at Currents are no different. We too have a Twitter account, and we also have a blog. We're building a Facebook page soon, I hope. But with everything happening online, it is sometimes easy to feel lost on that information superhighway.
You are very correct. And we wanted to find out how you feel about the rapidly changing online landscape. So we headed out to 3 Brooklyn parishes, St. Dominic's, St. Finbarr's, and St. Athanasius. And we asked the question, should the church be using all this new technology to evangelize? Take a look.
We gotta spread the word any possible way that is available. You know, as long as it's a good one, as long as for a good purpose, everything, you know, we gotta really feel, you know, all the internet and all the media with good messages.
I think it's too much of that. With the texting, with the Twitcher, with the this. It's making children not be children, and it's making adults do crazy things.
Facebook, I don't know. I really think they don't need it. They got bulletin boards, they've got the streets, they have people to talk with mouth and mouth. You really don't need the internet. I don't see what the point of it is. It's really just for people to talk, socialize, socializing network.
It seems like the trend with a lot of the politicians and stuff, will it work? It might, you know, reach other people, but I'm not a big fan of it myself.
It's got a lot of potential, and the reality is, unfortunately, I've already learned, kids don't check email. I mean, I'm already moving to how do I communicate with kids? You got to text to them.
The internet is used for everything from pornography to advertisement, so I don't see why it shouldn't be also used to preach the good news.
The internet is a little dehumanizing. There's less of a human touch, so I think avoiding it is probably better for everybody.
The easier, the better for people to get to know that if it wasn't for Christ and God, there would be no internet.
I think we're too much in the old way. We need to grow with what's going on in today's world to get our younger people to be more involved.
You might as well, if that's where the kids are, because we sure know there's more kids probably right now online than there are in church. So
I think everything is all right how it is.
Why not? It's free and it's available, really.
A range of opinions from parishioners in Brooklyn, but like it or not, the church is using new technology to go ahead and reach out to people and
Well, and you know, yeah, as you said, like it or not, right? Well, we wanted to see exactly how that is happening, not only in Brooklyn and Queens, but also in other dioceses. So I recently headed westward to New Jersey, the wild frontier, to see if I could dive a little bit deeper into something called DotTube. I also wanted to see if I could beat the heat. Well, it was another hot and muggy day in New York, so I decided to drive out to New Jersey, see if the weather was any better. If the weather's not any better. So I'm going to go inside here to the Diocese of Trenton Pastoral Center to see if I can find out about this thing they're doing called DotTube. I wonder what it's all about. Find out about DotTube. Guys, first of all, thanks for having me over. I really appreciate it. What is DotTube?
It's a video sharing site for the Diocese of Trenton. As you know, we produce a lot of video from Real Faith TV to Catholic Corner. And it's a place where that video can live, essentially. And we've invited parishes to come out and add to that as well, and to have a community where we can share share our life in Christ.
Where was this born from? I mean, where did the idea for something like DotTube come from?
I was just about to give Alex props on that. Alex, that was Alex's idea.
What happened was that one day we were talking a lot. I said we gotta put our videos in YouTube or someplace. We gotta do it because that's what everybody says. So well, in a month you say we're gonna start working on this, and that's how it started.
We were talking about getting the word out about DotTube. How has the response been so far prior to that?
The response has been very positive, very positive. Yeah, it's a new way to spread the gospel. You know, it's another medium to spread the gospel on the internet, video. And people are watching video all the time. They're on TV, they're on their iPhones, they're watching video. So it's a great way to get the message out across.
All right, well, now that I know kind of the ropes about DotTube and what it's about, let me see how it works.
Sure, come to my office and I'll show you how the fun starts.
All right, let's do it. Show me around kind of the basics here.
Sure, and welcome to my office.
Thank you.
It's dottube.org. From here, of course, they could go to the media part, so they can watch specific videos or upload videos here. When you go to channels, so even you can search here like Real Faith TV, and then you can watch the episodes of Real Faith TV. Here's the one that I told you.
¿Qué tal si le enseño la canción, Carlos? Ahora sí yo creo que sí, ya. Si yo le voy a enseñar una canción que se llama La Pancita.
It's me as a clown.
Stay away from me!
It's not only for the shows that we produce here, but it's also for, you know, parishes. Let me show you this. We have these Catholic iPhone apps that has been very popular.
If your name is John and you want to find out when your feast day is celebrated in the Catholic Church, there's an app for that. And
that's the way we're doing it so far.
Awesome. Well, you guys are doing a great thing. So thank you so much for having me over. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
They're so progressive.
I know. A lot of fun visiting those guys
An
out there.
iPhone app to tell you when your feast day is. Who would have thunk it?
Yeah, well, there are a lot of iPhone. I think they're going to eventually create an iPhone app for everything you could possibly.
I don't have an iPhone.
Well, I don't either. That's because I'm on a different company that doesn't carry, you know, that doesn't have a contract with the iPhone
Me
people.
too. Sure. Excuses. But you can still get your DotTube on the net, right?
That's right. And I've actually, on our website, netny.net, written some more about DotTube and my trip to Trenton. It's over on our blog. Just head on over to netny.net/currents and click on Riding the Wave.
And stay tuned, there's much more current straight ahead. Later on, we'll meet a man who is using everything from radio to the internet to reach out to people with busted halos. But just ahead, props from the president.
And the Vatican could be your new BFF online. Welcome back to Currents. I'm Matt McClure.
And I'm Francesca Maxime. Coming up a little bit later in the show, share your message, but keep it brief. First, let's have a look at today's headlines. President Obama presented 16 men and women with the country's highest civilian honor, the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Among the honorees today, Senator Ted Kennedy, former Supreme Court Justice Sandra Day O'Connor, and Pedro Jose Greer. He's a Catholic doctor who founded 2 health clinics to provide care to the homeless and disadvantaged in Miami. Greer is also a recipient of 3 papal medals. If Brooklynites are looking for a quality education, they don't have to go too far. Forbes.com ranks St. Francis College in Brooklyn Heights in the top half of the 600 colleges chosen nationwide. Out of the 19 schools ranked in New York City proper, St. Francis came in at number 6. Forbes' number 1 ranking in the country might surprise you. The U.S. Military Academy at West Point. It's free in exchange for military service. Schools were ranked on things like their reputation and how well schools meet students' needs, including their ability to pay without incurring too much debt.
Well, if you're not committed to the military and don't know what to do after graduation, you might consider working for free. Volunteer organizations say an increasing number of college graduates are taking part in community service. The Jesuit Volunteer Corps and Teach for America both reported a 40% increase in volunteers from a year ago. Now, one director attributes the rise to the tight job market. Well, volunteer organizations aren't the only ones seeing a rise in enrollment. From Sydney, Australia, seminaries say more young men are studying for the priesthood, 3 times as many now compared with the year 2000. Some attribute the increase to last year's World Youth Day in Sydney. A seminary rector says the interest from the younger generation is encouraging. Well, now from the Vatican, the Pope has jumped on the new technology bandwagon, as we hear from Rome Reports.
In today's ever-changing world, it's become clear that the way we communicate is evolving before our eyes. That's why the Vatican is working to make its presence in cyberspace more known now than ever before. Their latest effort to reach out to the masses targets young people around the world through a website called popetoyou.net. The site includes a new Facebook and iPhone application and a link to the Vatican's YouTube channel.
Employs these new technologies to make the gospel known, so that the good news of God's infinite love for all people will resound in new ways across our increasing technological world.
The website was launched on the eve of World Communications Day, marked this year on May 24th. In his annual message for the occasion, the Pope also warned that excessive use of social networking sites like Facebook can isolate people.
And you'll remember just last week, the Archbishop of Westminster in England, Vincent Nichols, actually echoed the sentiments of the Pope, saying online social networking can have a dehumanizing effect. Stay tuned. We have much more currents coming up straight ahead.
Coming up, what's the buzz? Just ask this guy.
If you build a robust Facebook presence or Twitter presence, you can get a lot of fans very, very quickly.
Well, earlier we heard your thoughts about new technology like Facebook and Twitter, and saw how the Diocese of Trenton, which Matt visited, is using the internet to spread its message. Still, all these newer lines of communication can be a little bit overwhelming.
Indeed, they can at times, and we wanted to get some perspective on how best to utilize online social networking. So I sat down recently to chat with someone who's made it his marketing strategy. Dave Kerpen, the Chief Buzz Officer at the K-Buzz. Dave, thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate it.
Great to be here.
First of all, tell me a little about K-Buzz and what you do.
Sure. So the K-Buzz is a social media marketing firm, and we help our clients navigate the waters of social media. We help them figure out what it is they should be doing on Facebook, on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on MySpace, on Yelp, on blogs. It seems like every day there's a new social media platform that folks are talking about, and we help them kind of figure out what their role should be and then help them execute that role. Right. And we work with a really wide variety of clients, so some very big companies as well as small businesses, government agencies. We work with New York City and Boston, and nonprofits as well.
Cool. Well, very good. Now, this is all kind of part of a series of technology and the church. Religious organizations, groups dealing with the church, involved in churches or different religious groups. How are they coming along in using social media to help spread their particular message?
Well, I think there are 2 big ways that religious groups can utilize social media and are currently utilizing social media. The first is to gather people, right? Social media represents the fastest and most efficient way to spread the word in the history of communications. So if you're a church and you want to, get more members, get more followers, get more folks involved, if you build a robust Facebook presence or Twitter presence, you can get a lot of fans very, very quickly, and you can quickly go from a small church, maybe physically, to a very large following online. Right. And I think the second way, and this hasn't been used quite as much, but I see more and more churches and religious organizations doing this moving forward, is actually using social media to have live discussions and services. LifeChurch.tv live streamed Christmas Mass last year for thousands of Facebook fans. And I know I work with a Jewish group that is doing live streaming of Rosh Hashanah services coming up in this fall. And I think that represents an incredible opportunity to reach countless numbers of folks that maybe don't have a church nearby, or maybe they have a disability and they can't get out to church. They can actually still participate in live services.
Yeah. Well, that being said, and you know, talking about, you know, using social media actually in the context of a worship service or some type of service like that, it is not often, and I'll say this, it's not often that we have a guest in the studio who has their BlackBerry out in their lap.
Right.
But this is a special occasion because we're going to show you right now, I guess, kind of how social media works and how quickly it works. Because just before you walked in to the studio, you tweeted a little bit.
I did. I just, you know, people think that Twitter is very complicated, but in fact, you know, I have it on my phone, and I tweeted, about to film a segment about religion and social media. What are your thoughts? And I have like 3,500 followers right now. And so a couple of them immediately tweeted back to me. One said, I don't like religion mixing with social media, but I don't actually like religion that much. And then somebody else wrote, sent me an article about a church that actually has a pastor who's tweeting his sermon live from church.
Right.
So how cool is that? That first of all, I got a great example to talk about with you.
Yeah.
But second of all, you can see how quickly things can spread and how ideas can travel and people can share so quickly now using these tools. I mean, it's never been possible before.
Right, and that's one thing. I mean, you know, some people will ask, and I've often asked myself this as well. I'm probably a little behind the curve on this. I don't have my own Twitter account because I've been kind of more on the Facebook side of things because there are just a lot more things that you can do on Facebook that you can't do on Twitter. But that would be, when folks have asked me about this, that would be the advantage of, I guess, Twitter over a Facebook, is that it is just a simple, quick sort of thing that you can do to keep updated.
Right. It's an incredible way, for instance, to crowdsource ideas or thoughts or suggestions or getting feedback. So that's kind of how I used it just now. And I think because of its simplicity, it's grown as fast as it has. I'm a huge fan of Facebook, don't get me wrong. I have our firm manages over 100 Facebook pages, probably the most, I think, you know, amongst marketing firms out there. And we believe very, very strongly in the power of Facebook. But what I love about Twitter is its simplicity. And whether you want to use Twitter to talk about what you're doing or more valuable things like building a following around a particular topic, Twitter can be very effective. So if I start a Twitter account just about Catholic goings-on in Brooklyn and Queens, for instance, I could tweet news articles, everything that's going on in parishes in Brooklyn and Queens, and the only people that would follow me would be people that want to hear about all of that, but that would be a very, very targeted, focused group that I'm building. And you can see how it might be relevant if I was, you know, potentially a pastor or had kind of a specific, spiritual or religious purpose there.
Right. And we here at Currents, actually, we have our own Twitter account, which is twitter.com/CurrentsNY. So
hold on,
we can
I'm following you right now.
See, it's how fast it happens. It's amazing. Well, where do you see things going from here? I mean, let me put it this way. Has there been a lot of resistance maybe from some religious groups in using this type of social media?
I think there's been a lot of resistance overall. I think when technology changes as fast as it has, there's going to be a lot of resistance in general, and specifically from nonprofits and religious organizations that are traditionally you know, conservative. And you know, people don't realize just how quickly this is happening. Email took 15 years to fully come to fruition. 15 years. And now we all take it for granted. Social media, it's been like 2 years. And in arguably 3 years, it's gone from being non-existent to everyone you know has a Facebook account, and everyone you know is talking about Twitter. Even if they don't have a Twitter account, they see it on Oprah or, you know, or Ashton Kutcher, and so they're at least talking about it. And so organizations that are slow moving, like big companies, government organizations, nonprofits, and frankly, religious organizations are going to put up some resistance. Right. So the religious organizations that I see moving faster are those that are more progressive and liberal in nature. Right. I think it's going to take time for older organizations and more established religious groups to really jump into social media and start using it. Okay. But I think once they do, they're going to see tremendous returns. Right.
Okay. Well, very good. Well, we'll have to leave it there. Dave, thank you so much for being here. We'll link to your site on ours in our blog, and another type of media that we're using here. It's all around us, right?
Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks, Dave. We appreciate it. Well, that is Dave Kerpen, the Chief Buzz Officer at the K-Buzz. And you know, he was saying everybody has a Facebook account now. When my mom got a Facebook account, that was just kind of weird.
Well, my mom got a Twitter account because I told her to, but she doesn't know what to do with it. Right. So I have mine, and that's good. And I want to hire him to do our Facebook fan page here over at The Net. That's what I want to do, is see if Dave can come back and work that one out.
We'll put you on it.
Absolutely. All right, stay tuned. There's more Current straight ahead.
Coming up, being an apostle in the 21st century.
Faith is in your relationships, and it's in politics, and it's in the decisions that you make every day.
Well, we recently introduced you to the gang over at Busted Halo, who use new media to spread the gospel.
They sure do, and tonight we hear from one of the stars of the Busted Halo podcast. He shares with us his powerful and passionate vision. Mike Hayes, a senior editor at Busted Halo, is our eyewitness.
Nobody's perfect, but we're all trying to live a faithful life. You know, we're all on this journey toward God. And that means that real life and a faith life they're not really mutually exclusive, and more or less they're not really that far apart. My associate pastor was a man named Father Brett Hoover, and he said, hey, my community, the Paulists, are having a meeting about how they can do young adult ministry on a more national level. And so they've asked us to gather some people who've been doing things locally in our local parishes. I was wondering if you can come. And I was like, sure. By the end of the meeting, I was running the office. I mean, I was like, okay, you know, we have to do stuff using media, we have to do stuff doing retreats, and I can help you do all that kind of things. And they offered me a job. Yeah, that's good. I really think it's doing what Jesus did. It's that Jesus was an itinerant preacher. That was the media of the day. You know, St. Paul was a letter writer, so he took it to the next level. And Isaac Hecker, who's the founder of the Paulists, was the first Catholic publisher. So he took it that way, and all we're doing is extending that. Are we reaching people? Yeah. The site gets a lot of visitors, and we can tell where they're coming from, and we know that there's a lot of comments on the website. So all those kinds of things, I think, are leading us to believe that what we're doing is really reaching the intended audience.
They are the ways in which we exist in the image of God are either
spirituality is really embedded in all the things that we do, even if we're not really aware of it. And I think that's what we try to awaken with the web magazine. I think that's what we try to do when we answer people's questions of faith in the podcast. We give them not only like theoretical knowledge of the faith, but a real world practicality of how to implement faith into your life, and to awaken people's idea to say that, you know, faith is in your relationships, and it's in politics, and it's in the decisions that you make every day, and it's in your work, and it's why you do the things that you do. People who are in their 20s and 30s who, I call them the now whats or the so whats. Like, they might be very successful, but there's something there that just doesn't, it's not working. You know, they want more. Life's really dealt them a hard hand, and now they're like, life's got to be about more than this. We had a woman on the retreat at one point who was abused. I mean, who, you know, came in, she was slumped over, she didn't talk much, she, you know, didn't really even seem like she wanted to be there, and a friend had invited her to come on because she knew she had had this experience. And Father Brett saved that woman's life. And that woman is a different person. You know, I just went to her wedding not that long ago. And from going from where she was to being able to be a wife and a mother and to really be a healthy person once again, you can't beat that. Right? That's bringing God into someone's life and awakening them to the fact that God loves them, despite the fact that bad things happen to them. That, you know, life is going to be difficult, but God is still going to be there on that journey, and awakening them to the fact that God has always been with them, even during those tough times. I think that's, you know, that to me allows me to say, yeah, you know what, we're doing good work here.
And that is Mike Hayes. He's tonight's eyewitness.
Mike is such a great guy, too. I've, of course, got to meet him when I did the story on the Busted Halo podcast. And he's just such a great guy, and obviously someone who just has so much passion for what he does. He went from being a radio producer at a sports talk station to doing this work with Busted Halo, and just took off with it.
And he says, you know, this is our audience, we're reaching our targeted audience. I think that what you're able to do with something like that, especially with the podcast, is anybody can tune in, anybody can, well, download it really is what it is. And yet the people that tend to are the ones, he said, the what-nots or the have-nots.
The so-what.
The so-whats. Messed that one up, but you know what I mean. The people that don't care or otherwise feel helpless or hopeless.
There you go.
All right. Well, that is all for this edition of Currents. Tomorrow, pro-life advocates spread their message on New York sidewalks. That and more tomorrow. And remember, you can always watch us online as well. The address is netny.net/currents, and you can see clips of the show and leave your own comments.
You indeed can. And you can also follow us, guess what, on Twitter. Just go to twitter.com/currentsny. Thank you so much for watching us tonight. I'm Matt McClure.
And I'm Francesca Maxime. Have a great night.